Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Kimberly Cloud Show. I'm your host, Kimberly Cloud. I have a very, very special guest here for the show today. Can you go ahead and announce to the world who you are and where you're calling from?
Hello, yeah, my name's Jeff Patterson. I'm out here in Portland, Oregon.
Okay. And can you go ahead and talk about as extensive as you want your past leading up into what you do now, sir?
Yes, my mission's kind of changed through the years. I've been running a martial arts meditation center here in Portland now for about 31 years. I started doing the meditative arts about a little over 30 years ago. And as a young guy, I was very much into Western boxing. And I used to go to a boxing gym just a few blocks down the street here from my academy in Portland. And at a boxing gym, for those of you that aren't familiar with how they run, they're a lot different than your traditional style fitness classes in that it's not one coach up in front of a group of students showing a series of techniques or exercises. It's usually a few coaches running around the gym, and each one of those coaches might have a handful of fighters that they're working with. Well, at this one particular gym, one of the coaches that was there was a very reputable coach. He had worked with world champions in both the amateur and the professional arena. And I really wanted to get to spend some time with him, but he wasn't looking to take on any new athletes. And so I would always show up at the gym when I knew he was going to be there. I'd work hard and try to get him to notice me. And after I followed him around for about 4 months, he finally started giving me some tips and helping me out a little bit. And it was only maybe 2 weeks of getting to work with him when he said, if you really want to be a good boxer, you should start doing meditation and Tai Chi. And this altered my life in many ways, in that as a 19-year-old kid, I wasn't looking to get into the meditative arts. And in fact, I thought Tai Chi was for old people in the park. I had no idea what all the benefits were. And I had a lot of respect for him, and I knew he was trying to help me. And so I decided to take on the practice. And over the next period of time, things started shifting and changing in my life. And I've seen so many positive things that have happened to me personally through the meditative arts. And through the years, I've had over 26,000 students come through my academy and thousands more online. I've heard hundreds of stories from my students on how the meditative arts has positively influenced their lives. And that's what's made me so passionate about trying to get this message out there and trying to help as many people as I can. And it's what motivated me to create my online programs and write my last few books. And so I'm just trying to spread the word on this amazing practice.
Tai Chi, what is it? Is it a science? And Tai Chi and meditation, is it a art, a science, a behavior? What is it?
I guess it could fit in all three of those categories. The meditative arts is very deep. There's a lot of different directions you can take the practice. With the meditative arts, I kind of break it down into 5 pillars. We have the physical side of the training that helps us improve our physical performance and our awareness and our mind-body connection. And it's why professional athletes spend a lot of time doing meditation to help improve their game and their mindset for the practice. Then there's the therapeutic side. And the therapeutic side is why a lot of people today turn to Tai Chi and Qigong and the meditative arts to help with, excuse me, to help with their joint mobility and their overall health and how they move and their energy levels. And then there's the medical side of the practice, which all of Chinese medicine is based off of Qigong theory, which has been around for years. And then there's the philosophical side of the training, which is something that I've always been very passionate about. I like the philosophical side because it helps expand your peripheral vision, so you see things from multiple angles, and it gives you insights on how to be more strategic. And then lastly, there's the spiritual path. And a lot of people follow this side to get to those deeper levels of meditation. And so, as you see, when you start creating an evolving life practice with the meditative arts, there's a lot of different paths that you can.
Okay. And are there any because I know some athletes can take drugs, and I don't want to talk about drugs in a negative way. I wanted to talk about those drugs that are good out there for athletes. I wanted to know, are there any good drugs for athletes out there to help extend or help them extend their extension to working out and becoming the, self actualized?
I'm not an expert in drugs or and how to do that, so I'm probably not the best person to ask when
That's
it comes.
fine. That's that's okay. So, okay, I wanted to know, can you tell me more about the Chinese aspect of Tai Chi? Can you tell me, elaborate more on that?
Yeah, so with Tai Chi, Qigong, sitting meditation, standing meditation, breath work, all of that is showing people how to integrate different movement practices, still practices, breath work, philosophical training. And through these things, we start to create a life practice. Tai Chi in itself specifically was originally more of a martial art. However, these days, most people that practice Tai Chi do it solely for the health purposes. And in fact, most Tai Chi teachers that I've met through the years don't even understand how to use it as a martial art, and they just do it for the health benefit. And so, as you are thinking about coming to a meditation practice, you want to understand kind of what it is, what path you want to follow, so we can pull things from the Tai Chi, from the Qigong, from our sitting meditation, standing meditation, breath work, from these philosophical concepts, so we can start to create an evolving life practice that helps you down whatever path you're interested in following.
The breath work. Give me an example of what the breath work entails. I'm pretty sure it's harder than it sounds.
The breath work is definitely a science, and Qigong is often referred to as the science of the breath. And there's hundreds of different breathing strategies, and they help us understand how to guide the energy in the body and extend it out of the body. It's one of the five regulations in the meditative arts, which is the fundamental principles behind any meditation practice. You have regulating the body, regulating the breath, regulating the mind, regulating the energy, and regulating the spirit. Regulating the body is the easiest one to integrate into your life, and usually where we have people begin because they see the most immediate results. For example, think about a time maybe when you're sitting down on your couch and you're watching TV and you're feeling lethargic and just kind of like you're melting into the couch and your energy levels feeling really depleted. And then another time when the most important person in your world walks in the room and your body perks up and you feel like you're on top of the world. Well, these two different energetic states we are in 100% control of all day, every day. And so by integrating this type of training and expanding our awareness, we start to see these things and learn how to regulate our posture, our relaxation, how we breathe to stimulate different energetic outcomes. On a little bit of a deeper level of regulating the body, it's maintaining some sort of muscular structure and flexibility, eating a healthy diet, getting enough sleep to keep the energy levels up. All of these would be part of that body regulation. Then when we turn to regulating the breath, as I mentioned, this is a very deep topic. Now, because there's so many different breathing strategies, we can broadly categorize them into the yin methods and yang methods. And yin methods are often deeper, more holistic style of meditations that help bring the energy inward. and bring those kind of yin effects from the practice. And an example of a yin style breath that we all do every day would be to, if you've ever listened to somebody sleep, you'll notice that their natural breathing pattern is a longer inhale and a shorter exhale. And that's the body's natural way of bringing your conscious mind into your subconscious mind, which is where we are when we're sleeping and dreaming. And so, if you want to emulate that style of energetic expression in your practice, we can lengthen the inhales, soft retentions at the end of the inhale, and shorter exhales to help bring that energy inward, which is great for stress reduction, dealing with anxiety, with panic attacks. It's good for boosting your creativity. And then we have the yang side of the breath. And the yang side of the breath is more aggressive. It's kind of like if you ever had to push your car or you pick up something heavy, your natural instinct is to exhale. And we put tension in the breath, maybe even make the breath audible. And this helps give us power and generate that outward expansion of energy. And so when we start learning how to use the breath strategically, we can use it to get different physical, mental, and emotional outcomes. Then we have regulating the mind. And this is a very deep pillar as well, and something that you'll work at for the rest of your life, taking on a meditation practice. And one of the most common things I'll hear people say through teaching the meditative arts is that they've tried meditation before, but it just didn't work for them. They couldn't quiet their mind. And somewhere along the way, I think people got this misguided idea that in order to be successful with meditation, that they need to reach this state of nirvana where nothing else is bothering them. And it couldn't be further from the truth. If you sit for 20 minutes and during that 20-minute session, you get distracted 50 times. And every time you get distracted, you use your breath or your posture or your movement, if it's a movement practice, to help yourself come back to center and find that focus. You just got 50 repetitions of being out of balance and finding focus. And if you do that every day, every month, every year, we start to develop this power and this ability to find that center in anything that happens to us. And so it's a very important part of the training. Then with this, through that mental strength, helps us see things more clearly inside the body. We start to develop this awareness and the sensitivity to notice these imbalances, so we don't have to get too far off track before we realize we need to bring that back to center. And there's this story that I enjoy that illustrates this idea really well about these two old monks. They're walking down this dirt road after a huge rainstorm, and they come up to this big mud puddle. And on the other side of the puddle is this beautiful little girl, and she's standing there in a white dress, but she's crying. And the older of the two monks, he hollers across the puddle and says, "Is everything okay? Can we help you?" And she says, "I need to be somewhere, but if I walk across this puddle, I'm going to get my dress all dirty." So the older monk, he rolls up his pant legs, he walks across the puddle, picks her up, puts her on his back, takes her to the other side, sets her down, and she's off on her way. Well, him and the younger monk are walking a couple miles further down the road, and finally the younger monk is just furious, and he says, we're not supposed to touch girls, but you did back there at the puddle." And the older monk looks down and says, "You're still thinking about that girl? I left her back there at the puddle." And how many times in life do we need to get 2 miles down the muddy road before we realize we got to let that stuff go? And so learning how to regulate the mind is extremely important. And then the fourth regulation, regulating the energy, this is a very deep topic and something that we could literally talk for hours about. But the basic idea is once you've reached a competent level in regulating the body, the breath, and the mind, we now have the tools to circulate the energy in the body, to lead it inward, to extend it outward, to help us get these different expressions, whether they're physical, mental, or emotional. And so the energy regulation is very important. And then the last regulation, which is regulating the spirit, this is a very profound idea and something that meditation practitioners and spiritual leaders spend their entire life's journey on that path towards enlightenment. Well, on a little more of a practical level of this spiritual cultivation is something that we all hear of all the time in athletics when somebody's like in that flow state and everything's connecting for them. They're very relaxed, they're present, they're in the moment. Everything just seems to work for them. And this is an example of how we elevate the spirit while finding that center at the same time. Because when we usually get excited, our bodies tense up and we start to, move around a little bit, and that excitement comes with tension. But when you're in that flow state, that excitement level rises, but the body stays relaxed, grounded, and ready to respond. And when you can put those two things together, that's one of the reasons why so many athletes turn to this practice to help them tap into those higher states of awareness for performance. And now, as you can see, these 5 regulations can affect pretty much anything we do in life. And so it doesn't matter what meditative practice you do, whether it's Tai Chi or yoga, sitting meditation, standing meditation, whatever it is, these 5 regulations are the core underlying principles that help build and create the foundation for that practice.
Tell me how life's challenges, because life does happen, change um your Tai Chi style. Like how you use your life challenges and how you use your Tai Chi to help, you know, alleviate your life challenges in your life.
So, yes, that's a good question. We're always coming up to challenges, and there's nothing that we can do about problems that arise or things that kind of throw us off track. But what we can do is how we respond to those life situations that happen. And do we want to be the monk that takes 2 miles down the muddy road to figure out something before we let it go? Or do we want to recognize those imbalances when they first happen and be able to step back and be more present so we can stay in the moment and make a more educated choice on how to deal with these things without letting our emotions get involved? And this helps us stay closer to that center and find that ability to have a more balanced life and not let those emotions take control and take us too far off track.
Okay, and tell me about like one of the kids you trained, how a situation that you can remember that you trained one of your kids to for Tai Chi and how they had a positive outcome from that.
Well, with the meditative arts, we don't really train a lot of kids. It's mostly adults in
Okay.
the meditation program, but I can happy to share a couple stories in this area. A lot of people come to the meditative arts because they want to reduce stress in their lives, or maybe improve their performance, or maybe they're dealing with anxiety or panic attacks or whatever it is. And through doing this practice, I've seen some amazing transformations. I always think of this one gentleman who started with me when he was about 55 years old, and this was about 30 years ago, and he's still here at the academy. He had 85 training after 30 years. He came here at 55. He had a very high stress career, very tense. He moved around like a 2x4, very stiff, and he wanted to learn sword fighting. And after I got to know him just for a couple sessions, I was like, it'd be really good if we started doing some meditation. I think it'd be very helpful for you. And after a fairly short amount of time, he started taking on the practice. his whole physiology changed. He started being more relaxed. He started being more fluid. He started letting go of the stress of work that was kind of weighing him down. And one of the reasons why he came in, and now 30 years later, he's still at the academy. I've seen people use this practice to help them through illnesses and help them recover from injuries and to deal with um, having anxiety and panic attacks. Just so many stories through the years on how this practice can help them. And, you could literally do a Google search of, benefits of the meditative arts and probably see a million articles on people talking about the many benefits of this practice. And so it really is, endless, what you can get out of doing a practice like this.
Is there any specific music you listen to in conjunction with all of the arts that you practice?
I love music and I listen to music often. However, when I'm doing my meditation practice, it's in silence. It's not time to listen to an audio or watch a video or, the meditative arts is often referred to as the internal arts. And it's called the internal arts for a reason, because you're supposed to bring that focus inward and listen to what's going on inside the body, inside the mind, and make those higher level connections. And if our mind is elsewhere and watching a video or listening to music, while that can be relaxing sometimes, that's not really meditating because we're taking our focus away from our own mind and body. And so while there are many relaxation techniques that you can do listening to soft music or rolling waves or whatever that is, and I think those are beneficial, I think for your ritual meditation practice, it's best to do in silence.
What does silence, I have to know, what does silence do for the actual body? I guess you said you recognize, your body more. Tell me more about that because I didn't know. I, I don't I want to know about silence and what it can do for the body to ease it.
Well, it's kind of like anything. If you think that um, you can read a book and at the same time type an email, it's very hard to divide that attention and do either thing with much quality. And so when the meditative arts isn't any different in that if you try to do something else in conjunction with it, there might be some presence involved, but you're never going to have those deeper inner connections that you will if you just turn that focus inward and listen. And that silence can be just listening to the present moment of what's going on. If you're doing a movement practice, it can be becoming aware of all of the subtle energetic shifts in the body and the weight transfer and the expansion and contraction of the breath, and just noticing all of the little things physically that are going on in the body. There's many things that come with that awareness.
Okay, and where do you see yourself going in the future?
Well, I'm going to continue doing what I'm doing. I love handing down the meditative arts. I've helped a lot of people through the years, and I've been able to be fortunate to be in an amazing community. Um, there's a lot of people that are involved in the program that are kind of like family to me. And so I'm right now finishing up my most recent book. It's called The Yielding Athlete, teaching athletes how to integrate the meditative arts into their lives to improve their performance. It's kind of a second book in the series to my first book, The Yielding Warrior, which talks about the basic idea of yielding and how to use yielding in every area of your life. And yielding is a really cool concept in the meditative and the martial arts. And within yielding, I've broken it down into three pillars. We have physical yielding, mental yielding, and emotional yielding. And physical yielding is the idea that I push you, you push me, whoever's the bigger, stronger person with the most leverage eventually is going to push the other person over. But with yielding, instead of us trying to see who the bigger meathead is, When you push me, I get out of the way of that force. And now I can respond with less effort. So I'm not trying to butt heads with you and see if I'm bigger and stronger than you. Now, in athletics, it's obvious how this is beneficial because you're many times going to come up against another athlete who's bigger, stronger, and faster than you. Now, in order to be good at physical yielding, a lot of things have to come into play. You need to be well rooted. The lower part of your body needs to be strong and flexible so you can change your central equilibrium without getting tight. The body has to be relaxed, the breath has to be calm, and the mind has to be present. Now, while it may be a lifetime journey to really master these skills, from day one, by integrating a meditation practice into your life, you start to develop this higher level of awareness of those things inside yourself and in other people. And this is where we move into what I call the mental side of the training. And with mental yielding, this is where it gets really interesting because, say, for example, you and I are having a conversation and I say something that unsettles you, and I pick up on it right from the first sign of imbalance. Maybe you adjust your breath or you change your energetic state or some tension enters your body or whatever that is. And I notice that right away. It's a lot easier to adjust the conversation and keep us in a happy place than if I'm not paying attention to that. Pretty soon I'm so far off track, you want to knock me upside the head. And so learning how to use yielding in all of our interactions is extremely powerful. One, we're being more considerate, which is something that we could all do more of. And two, it allows us to be more strategic so we can guide conversations to a positive outcome with the least amount of resistance. And this is great for our relationships, for business, for sales, negotiations. I mean, there's so many different ways that we can apply this idea. And then the last pillar of yielding is emotional yielding. And this is very much like mental yielding, but with our own interpersonal conflicts. So you think about many times something will happen to us and we'll respond and we'll go down this path. And we might get an hour, a day, a week down the road and realize maybe that wasn't the best choice. But with yielding, if we could have had a higher level of awareness and more presence when these things happen, we're able to sit back, not let our emotions take over, and oftentimes make a more educated choice that saves us a lot of heartache on the other side. You know, and I've been explaining this idea of yielding now for many years. I've been running my academy for over 30 years. And one of the most common things I'll hear people say is, yielding makes a lot of sense. In fact, I do yielding all the time. Well, I would agree in that I think everybody does some degree of yielding all the time. However, it's kind of like if you or I were to walk into a crime scene with a detective who's been on the job for 30 years, I guarantee you that person would see things about the series of events and the timeline that I know at least I would have no clue of. And the meditative arts helps us see things inside of ourselves and inside of other people that I truly believe most people will go through life and never have any clue of.
Thank you so much for your information. How can the people reach you?
You can go to my website, theyieldingwarrior.com. Right now, I'm giving away a free copy of my most recent book, The Yielding Warrior. If you go to theyieldingwarrior.com/book, you can download a copy there, just pay for shipping, and we'll send you out a copy. I also have an online program through the site where if you're interested in learning how to create an evolving meditation practice, you can check out our 2-week trial and try that out and get in touch with me, any of those avenues.
Okay, stay on the line. Thank you all for joining my show today. Take care, be safe, and I'll see y'all another time. Bye.
Never waste my time. You are